From our spectacular campsites on the most remote of tracks to the workshop and everything in between, your next episode of Great Off-Road Adventures is just seconds away. Well, good day everyone, it's Graham from Great Off-Road Adventures and welcome back to another video. Now in this one here, I'm sure as you can tell, we are at AMV, and what I'm going to do is run you through some of the issues we're having with the car at the moment. Now they're mechanical issues, and it's mainly because we've done 300,000 Ks on the car. So as you know, if you watched any of my videos, you know what we put this car through. We do a lot of off-roading, a lot of touring, a lot of overlanding, four-wheel driving, camping. It does a lot of work off-road and on-road. So as a result, with 300,000 Ks, we're having a few niggles. So in this video, we're going to cover off what they are. Well, as you can tell, wheels are off. First issue that we've got to address this morning is the lower control arms. So, 300,000 K mark, the bushings where the lower control arms mount to the chassis have cracked and are starting to fall apart. So what we're doing is doing the lower control arms, and that'll also replace the lower ball joint. Which I've had both of these replaced at various times in the last 300,000 Ks. I think they were both, one side was done about 200,000, the other side not long afterwards. So yeah, we'll replace both of those. They come with the arms and everything. So yeah, at the moment we're just unbolting everything off of the arm. So struts unbolted, sway bar, struts unbolted, sway bars unbolted, low ball joints undone, and now we're just working on getting the main mounts out and also the adjusters for the wheel alignment. As with anything, there's always little issues. These ones are done up pretty tight and all seized up, so we're having some fun getting them out. All right, well, an update for you. We've managed to get the first control arm sort of out. The reason for that is, as we sort of suspected, the sleeves on the bushes are seized onto the bolts and they are not wanting to budge. So as a result, we're having to cut them out, which is not ideal, but at the same time, there's no other option that we've got. So yeah, we've got down here 2 new control arms and a full kit as well for mounting it all. So that's all the bolts and washers, nuts, everything, all the hardware to put it up. So whatever we're cutting out, we've got there ready to go to replace it. So yeah, onwards we roll, and hopefully this thing stops fighting us seems that whenever we go to do something on this car, it just gives us issues. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get through the rest of the job now. Now that we've had our issues, we can get through the rest of it straightforward. Well, as you can tell, my car's no longer on the 2-poster. We've got it up on the 4-post now, setting it up to do a wheel alignment. So yeah, obviously because we've essentially pulled apart the whole of the front end, you know, the main bit that controls wheel alignment being the lower control arms, definitely have to wheel align it. So I've had a couple of alignments done at A&B in the past. They've always been spot on. So I'm going to let Neil work his magic, and I'm sure it'll be dead straight down the road when we're done. Well, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying the video, and enable notifications so that you receive a notification when the next video comes out. Well, just like that, I'm over at another workshop. So what we've decided to do, guys, 300,000 Ks, the brakes on the car, the rotors, I should say, the rotors require replacing now. I have done 2 sets of pads, pretty much get 100,000 Ks out of a set of pads. But yeah, now this time the rotors need replacing. What we've elected to do is fit the DBA upgrade. So we're going to get slotted rotors, use the DBA extreme pads, which have got a better compound, and we're also fitting braided lines. So we should see a marked improvement in the braking performance of the car, especially considering the weight that it is. So yeah, we're at the Midland 4-wheel drive centre, and this is their new workshop. As you can see, it's in full swing already, no mucking around on their behalf, set up and ready to go. And yeah, look forward to ripping into these brakes and seeing how good it is afterwards. 300,000 Ks, nothing is ever straightforward, is it? As you'll see, the passenger side rear corner has not been done. Fronts have been done, driver's side is all done. Now, ran into an issue on this one here. The slide bolts on the caliper are seized. We have managed to get them out, but we've stretched the bolts and pretty much destroyed them in the process. And the hard line that runs from the center of the diff out to this edge has also got a lot of corrosion on it. We've gotten it undone and done back up, but it's also nearly rounded over. So at this stage, my job tomorrow morning, because it's gotten late and we've missed the parts shops, is to get some rear calipers. We're going to do calipers on both sides at the rear because we don't want unequal force. Obviously, you put a new caliper on this side, old caliper on the other side, they will brake differently. The new one will obviously be a lot more efficient, and the old one that has a bit of gunk and stuff, it's perhaps a bit sticky, won't work as well. So yeah, 2 rear calipers, 1 hard line, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get this thing off the hoist and back on the road. Anyway, that's it for now, and we'll see you then tomorrow. Well, the next day I was able to have a look at all the hard work that Matt had put into getting the front brakes done the night before, and he was straight into doing the rear end as well. As you can see, that caliper's on and he's underneath doing all the brake lines now, ready for us to bleed them and put the tyres on and hit the road. Well everybody, it's a week before my DBA Brake Upgrade goes in. What I've come out here to do is do some very non-scientific testing. So before the brake upgrade goes in, I want to test out how these old brakes are. What I've got is I've got the orange cone that'll represent the point where I start braking. I'm going to do the test 3 times, and then wherever I stop I will put out the yellow cone. And what I'll do is I'll pace out how long it takes me each test, and we'll average it out at the end so that we get an average of over 3 tests how the brakes perform. Like I said, we're booked in a week's time for the upgrade. We'll get the upgrade done, we'll bed the brakes in, and then when I've got a bit of free time I'll come back out here and I'll repeat this test with the DBA Brake Upgrade. And hopefully between the first test and the second test we'll be able to, and the data, the very scientific data that we collect, we'll be able to see some sort of trend or comparison, and hopefully we'll see a reduction in my braking distance with the upgrade, and some sort of tangible benefit or effect for having done it. So yeah, quickly get myself set up. We've got, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not a private road, but it is a very rural road. It's actually a dead end just up there, so we're probably going to have no traffic for the duration of our test here, which is perfect. And it's about 4 kilometers straight down that way, and the dead end's at the top of the rise up there. So are we going to upset anyone out here? No, we're not. So quickly get myself set up, we'll run this test, we'll see how it goes. Alright, well let's see how these old brakes perform. So they still work, they work just as well now as they did when they were new, but there's not a lot of life left in the pads or rotors, and that's the catalyst for doing the upgrade. No point putting factory rotors on when you could put upgraded rotors on for much the same price, and same thing for pads. So yeah, let's do this first test and let's see how it goes. Up to 80k an hour, which is the speed limit, then on the brakes from the cone. Righto, there's the first one done. Quickly flick out a marker, do the next ones. Righto, test number 2. Oh, love that V8 grunt. That's 80. Whew. Not too bad. Not too bad for old brakes. So what I'm trying to do is brake as the front axle passes the cone, and then I'm putting the yellow markers, these ones here, out in line with the front tyre, so front axle again, so getting a as close to accurate reading as possible. Right, let's go. Third and final test. Okay. All right, well, that's how we set up. I'll start at the orange cone, pace it out to the yellow cones, and we'll see how we go. 3, 4, 5. 43 paces to the first cone, which was the second test. The third test is the one just next to it, and the first test is up there. So 43 and a half paces to those two. 44, 45, 46 paces. So 43, 46, we'll have an average of about 44 to 44 and a half paces. I pace at just under a metre, so about 0.85 to 0.9 of a metre for a pace. So we're looking at about 35, 36, no more, 37 to 38 metres from 80 kilometres an hour, 37, 38 metres. 80 k's an hour. That's not too bad a stopping distance. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad either. So we'll pack ourselves up, we'll jump back in the car, and yeah, I'll be really interested to see what the test's going to be like with the DBA Brake Upgrade. So anyway, probably get onto that test about now. Beauty of editing, magic of video editing. Well everybody, it's been a couple of weeks now since we installed the brakes, and it's time for us to repeat the testing that we did before. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just accelerate up to 80. I've got a marker out, hit the brakes, see where we stop, put another marker out, measure it out. I'll do it 3 times and we'll get an average. Well, it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes, but yeah, initial impressions, pretty good. I think we're definitely shaving a bit of distance off compared to before. So, rinse and repeat. Right, let's go. Test number 2. might have braked a little bit early for that one, but we'll see. Tell ya, smell the brakes working. It is anticipated, much like the first test, that as the brakes get hotter to a point, they will perform better. So yeah, we'll probably see all 3 runs get shorter and shorter, but it's up to a point. Once you've done the runs about probably 10 times or more, then we'll start to see brake fade come in and the distances start to lengthen. Obviously I'm not gonna, you know, brake and destroy my brakes by doing that. We just want to see the immediate differences when you got to lean on them straight up. All right, test number 3. Pretty much that ended up right in the middle of the cones as well. So got a pretty good average going here. We'll measure it out in a sec. Well, much like the first test, I'm going to do it very scientifically and just pace it out. So let's go. 1, 2, 3. 21, 22, 23. 28 paces to the first cone, which was our first result. Sorry, that was our second result. So I thought I braked maybe a touch early. So 28 paces to the first, 29, 30, 31 to the second, and 33 paces to the third cone. So 33 paces, I'm stepping probably just short of a meter. So I reckon that's probably about 28 meters, I reckon. But either way, we've paced it out the first time, we've paced it out the second time. So we had 28 to 32 paces, making our average about, well, that would be 30, wouldn't it? So pretty interesting. Well, having finished up our testing, we're getting towards the pointy end of the video. Last thing I want to share with you guys is actually just my thoughts on the brakes and how they work, how they feel. In terms of the pedal feel, we obviously did a braided line. We did braided lines at the same time as doing pads and rotors and doing the DBA pads and rotors upgrade. The braided lines give you so much more feel through the pedal, in my opinion. With the rubber lines, you'd brake to that normal amount. Everybody, you know what I mean here, when just day-to-day braking, you sort of brake with the same amount of pressure and the same amount of stopping resistance all the time. Like that's just normally what everyone does. That remains unchanged in my experience with the braided lines, but it's when you need to apply that little bit more braking or that little bit less that you have just so much more control with the braided lines. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the braided lines. 100% worthwhile doing. When you want to apply a little bit more braking force, you just apply a little bit more pressure through your foot, and it's just so linear and controlled. You can't beat the feel, if that makes sense. The feel of, I want to put more brakes on, I only want this much more, I'd only just put that much more pressure on, and you can achieve exactly what you want to achieve. So yeah, braided lines, in my experience, 100% worthwhile. Definitely include them as part of your brake upgrade. As to my thoughts on the DBA brake upgrade as a whole, completely 100% worthwhile. Absolutely no regrets. Well, maybe one regret, and that's that I didn't do it sooner. But for me, it's made the car safer in general. It's made it safer for myself, it's made it safer for Jess, it's made it safer for other road users. You know, our car, it's heavy, it's GVM upgraded to handle the extra weight, but you know, that didn't include brakes. That's springs and shock absorbers. So the brakes, definitely worthwhile doing. It's just made it that much better to drive and that much safer for us to drive. You know, you never need to rely on your brakes at 100% max braking force. You don't rely on them all the time, but when you do have to rely on them, you want them to work like perfectly. So yeah, my 2 cents, 100% worthwhile, worth every penny. And for all of you out there with heavy vehicles, not just Land Cruisers, but you know, dual cab utes, all of them, when you do a canopy and you do a big draw setup, you carry water and long range fuel tanks, all that, etc. It's definitely, it adds a lot of weight, and it affects the performance of your car all around. It doesn't accelerate as well, doesn't corner as well, doesn't brake as well. There's things you can do to enhance all those various areas, make them better, but the one of all those, two of all of those areas that affects your safety: brakes, suspension. GVM upgrade, brake upgrade. As far as I'm concerned, having now experienced it, the two should go hand in hand. Anyway, you're probably tired of hearing me rabbit on and talk about it, so let's wrap up the video. Make sure if you've found it, I guess, educational, you give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know your thoughts down below, whether they're the same as mine. And yeah, if we don't see you in the next video, guys, we'll see you out in the tracks and trails, hopefully. Anyway, happy safe adventuring. We'll see you out there one day.